Many Bothans died to bring you this review.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Average Joe Squad.
And I'm Soketsu 134.
And as always, this is Remember the Hyphen.
Sure, look at comic books, movies, and everything in between.
And this month, for my birthday month, because my birthday is on June 25th, we are going to do Star Wars month, where we review all 6 movies, because there's only 6 movies.
Yeah.
There's only 6 of them. 6 movies, plus the 2 Ewok movies and the holiday special.
Oh, God, I gotta watch that tomorrow. It's gonna be so fucking bad.
Yeah, so this has been kind of an idea, like you know, we did, obviously, last year, we did X-Men month and a half for my birthday, and then we did, actually, no, that was for Fantastic Four.
No, the first one...
Was that was the year prior.
Yeah, that was season 1.
Yeah, so season 1 we did...
No, season 2, because we didn't start season 1 till August.
Yeah, so for the second season, we did Fantastic Four month for my birthday, and then we did X-Men month last year, and hopefully this is not going to take a month and a half, because, dear God, that drained me and Adam both doing that.
No.
That was a terrible idea on my part. I should have limited that. Maybe I was a little too ambitious in places.
The problem was more we were like, yeah, let's do certain ones like on their own instead of just like,
yeah, like we should have just done those as trilogies. But anyway, this one will be, I think we'll actually have fun with this one because like, as I was telling him before we started recording, this is something really, really in my wheelhouse. I've watched all of these movies a lot, and not just like, I've seen different versions. I've seen fan edits. I've read the novelizations. Like this is, I think I got some stuff I can really offer, and I'm kind of interested to see us go back and forth over these, because I think these are like probably some of the most well-renowned movies ever made. I would think. Would you agree with that?
No, I would agree with that.
I mean, the original trilogy is
well, the original trilogy is quite well-renowned. The prequel trilogy...
Well, Ewan McGregor would tell you the prequels are underrated.
I mean...
I'm like, yeah, in comparison to these hypothetical 3 other movies after 6 that just never happened, but...
Listen, I as much as it would be fun for us to talk about those movies, I don't
have time to be that angry again.
Well, then I don't need 800 people going onto that video and be like, well, you just didn't like it because you hate women, or you didn't like it because you're, you know, J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy, and who got time for that anymore?
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering through the sequel trilogy.
Now this is pod racing.
But anyway, so we're gonna be doing these in chronological order. We had kind of talked about, do we do them in the way they actually came out? I think it'd be kind of fun to just build up to the original trilogy anyway, because those are without a doubt my favorite 3.
Then you know, you can't not do the original trilogy before you do the holiday special, because that's just begging to hurt. Yeah. But
and then you've never seen the Ewok movies, so...
That's going to be an experience when I get to those.
Yeah, so... Anyway, let's dive right into it. So, first movie up on a slate today is, obviously, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, I have multiple copies of all these fucking movies. Like, I have this on tape. I have the DVD release. I've got and this is the Blu-ray, obviously.
He has a vault at home, though. He just has these all in, like, a safe.
Disney vault, yeah. But, yeah, these came out after, I think, Rise of Skywalker.
That I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so like they all match up, basically. And I have the original trilogy in this packaging, too. When we get to the original trilogy, dear God, I'm going to need a box for all those copies of that I have, because you've seen them. I have all these different versions of them. But, I think... I always see people go back and forth on the internet about, and I think we'll probably dive into that here. Oh, yeah. What's worse, this or Attack of the Clones? And I would actually say Attack of the Clones is worse. It for different reasons.
We'll get to it when we get there, but for me, depending on my mood, one is worse than the other, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like for me, like I get a lot of the criticisms of this movie, but I've never really honestly thought this movie was that bad. Well, if anything, the biggest complaint I have about 1 is that it has a lot of pacing issues.
Yeah.
And that's putting it lightly. So I think, are we both in agreement on that then? Yeah. Pacing issues?
There's a reason why when I pop this in, I often call it the Phantom Snore.
Yeah, like, I think the main problem with Episode 1 is that it wasn't really what a lot of people expected it was going to be.
if I may, as a caveat.
Yeah, because you actually lived through this.
Yeah.
You actually remember a lot
Like-
more of this. Like I did too, obviously, but I was real young.
Yeah.
And I didn't really watch Star Wars until I want to say like 2004.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, I was 8 when this movie came out, but you know, as someone who lived in a period of time where Star Wars was kind of dead, and I'm not saying like dead, but like the most prevalent new thing in the franchise was like the video games, like Shadows of the Empire.
Or like the X-Wing games.
Yeah, or the
like
X-Wing
Dark
games.
Forces,
Yeah.
like stuff like that.
So like for like about like when did Return of the Jedi come out? 86?
1983.
83. From like 83 to 97, while Star Wars was still popular, like it
wasn't nearly as popular
popular.
as it is now.
like I remember when this came out and when they re-released the original trilogy in theaters, it was like it was like a religion had awoken, or like some like I remember going into like this is gonna make me sound really old.
Sense of disturbance in the Force.
This is gonna make me sound really old. I remember going into a media play. Do you remember media play stores?
No, I don't fucking. I've never even heard of a media play store.
Well,
It's like a rental store, right?
No, media play is basically like FYE but bigger.
Yeah, I've never been to one of those.
It was like if Big Lots had sex with an FYE, and that would be their baby.
That sounds really dope. I'm kind of mad I've
No,
never been to one now.
Like they had also like I remember there was like they had like a statue like Chewbacca from like episode 5, and he's got like a backpack with pasted as a C-3PO in it.
Yeah, like it is in episode 5 when they're trying to escape
like
Bespin.
it was just insane. Like as a little kid, like I watched a lot of cartoons, and if you ever watched a 90s cartoon, they referenced Star Wars at least once. But when the original trilogy got re-released in theaters, and that we got trailers for Phantom Menace, it was insane. Like you're probably old enough, you still remember how it was when The Matrix was coming out.
Yeah,
It was like
I
that.
wasn't really paying attention to the Matrix at that point, but I remember seeing the ads for it everywhere. Like it was in the comic books, it was in the magazines, the TV
You
trailers.
might remember a little bit of the news where they would like show.
I didn't watch.
Well, I mean,
back then.
I know maybe you were like with. Your
I don't
parents,
remember.
Like, if your parents
I
had
don't
like the news
remember
on
it.
like-
Basically, the most I remember about it is that I saw a lot of ads for it in comic books at the time.
but like, it was insane. Like if you look online, you can see pictures of people dressed
People
up
were
like
like camping outside
yeah,
the theater,
dressed like
and stuff.
Jedis and
If you've
Sith
ever seen the
Lords.
movie Fanboys, it kind of dives into that a bit, and
Yeah.
I think would you say that's a pretty accurate
Oh no, it is 100%
representation of what
accurate.
happened back then?
Hold on a second,
Gotta wet the lips.
I was making jokes about Emperor Palpatine wanting pussy, and now I coughed up all this phlegm, and now I'm.
Jesus Christ.
What's the use of thinking we're doing? We're just going out and getting the pussum.
I officially am ready to go jump out in traffic now. It's been nice, everybody.
But
I was gonna have to do the show solo or get Doug to come on.
I still remember there was a Conan O'Brien sketch where they sent Triumph the Insult comic dog out, and he talked to this woman who was like 7 months pregnant. She said if it was a boy, they were going to name it Luke. If it was a girl, they were going to name it Leia. She's like, so you're going to ensure your son never procreates ever. I see.
But yeah, so this was a big deal when it
Yeah.
came out. Like, I even remember, I remember the Pizza Hut promotions they were doing for it. I might
'cause this is around the
still
time-
have some of those pieces
This
somewhere.
is around the time KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut all were brought under one company.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon had because he had a Pepsi sponsorship.
Yeah.
They ran a Star Wars car in the NASCAR Busch Series at the time.
Yeah. And I had so many figures from this. I had the C-3PO that's all wires and metal.
I think I have that somewhere.
I had a little pit droid from like the pod racing, which I actually love those little pit droids. Those things are hilarious. I had basically a laser tag game where you had one of the droid ships and you had one of the Naboo starfighters, and you had to like shoot at each other, and like pieces of them would fall off until they like I was into Star Wars as a little kid, like really little. Like I remember my uncle, well, at the time uncle, he actually let me borrow the VHSs that he had, and they were the original trilogy VHS releases.
Those are that set I have. Remember,
Yeah.
I have a couple copies of that set.
I remember getting super into Star Wars, despite the fact that I barely knew what any of this was. And I know a lot of people think that, like, you know, that movie came out and we all hated it. That only happened.
That was the opposite. That was how everybody looking back in hindsight with that.
Yeah,
because that's that was the Phantom Menace effect.
Yeah, that was like 2010 when we all started realizing, hey, this movie kind of sucked. But like, and yeah, like he says, I always bring this up, the Phantom Menacing effect. Which, to be fair, I didn't coin that. That would actually be Spoonie back when he was still normal. And
before he lost his mind.
Yeah, and basically the idea was a movie comes out. And it becomes super popular to the point, like, everyone is talking about it. And you go and you see it, and, you know, everyone in that theater is pumped for it. And a part of you thinks, boy, this isn't really as good as what I was hoping for. But because of, like, the fact that it became, like, a media darling, it managed to survive despite being not super great. It actually had the opposite effect of, like, the last season of Game of Thrones, which completely killed it.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I think, like, I kind of agree with Ewan McGregor, like, because he talked about recently, via his role with the Kenobi show.
Yeah.
That he talked about, like, he's like, I think there's been a new wave of appreciation for these movies, which I actually will agree with, because I remember around that time, 2010, that I remember a lot of people hating on these. Like, I remember that because, like, granted, I've always been more of an original trilogy kind of guy. I like that. I like that era more than the others, for reasons we'll dive into when we get near the end of this video, because I'll talk about my reasons why I think the prequel trilogy probably came out as it did.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do remember that a lot of people being like, you know, like Phantom Menace is bad and Attack of the Clones is bad. Revenge of the Sith's good. It's the only good one. And then around like the time of like 8 coming out, the hypothetical 8, you know, because that movie never happened. But, I remember a lot of people, and I remember the people, same people I remember hating on these movies.
Yeah,
like people I know in real life. I won't name names. Names change to protect the innocent. But I remember those same people telling me, like, no, I never said that. I've always loved the prequel trilogy. And I'm like, you're a fucking liar. I remember you saying this. I remember us criticizing these.
Yeah.
And saying these were bad. Well, I remember you saying it. Why are you changing the sub? Why are you flipping the script?
Well, that's not what happened. I think like a decade of constantly ranting and raving on these films is also kind of, we've all kind of come back around like, well, maybe we were a little unfair. Especially like, I think a lot of people got a little too into it because like this is
the problem is it's not as good as the original trilogy. I think that's what a lot of people were hoping for.
That and the fact that like, I think the internet discourse, especially because like, I don't know if you've ever seen Mr. Plinkett's review of Star Wars, the original Episode 1. He did like an hour-long 7-part video. This is like the beginning of the 2-hour-long video essay on YouTube.
Or like when you're like me and you're watching an 8-hour video talking about fucking Morrowind. Which I used to fall asleep. Which, like,
to be fair, I do still enjoy a lot of that review, although some of the humor's a little... There's like a scene where like he
didn't age well.
There's like a scene where he talks like he's got a prostitute chained up in his basement.
Yeah, that didn't age well.
I was
Jesus
like,
Christ, that's a little disturbing. And by I mean really.
Which fun fact, the guy that does Mr. Plinkett's voice, and that's the same dude who does Desmond in the Happy Friends first episode. But to be fair, aside from the comedy, I do think he has some points that really do kind of bring up a lot of flaws with Episode 1. And I hope not to repeat any of those, because I haven't seen that review in a while, but like there is parts of that where I kind of agree with. So yeah, why don't we start, I guess, diving into
Phantom Menace.
Phantom
Menace takes place in the actual Republic era.
Yeah.
Shortly before the outbreak of the Clone Wars. And I say shortly in the sense of years.
Yeah, so I'd say even though
very, very close. We're going to say shortly because that's historically that makes sense.
Because Anakin's like 9 in this, and then he's like
9.
What, 16 in Episode 2? Or is he a lot older than that?
16 or 18, I think.
Okay.
I know he's like 20-something in... Got to be 20-something in fucking Revenge, but...
Also, as an aside, real quick, one thing I will give this Phantom Menace, the posters for this movie were awesome.
Oh my god, that classic one of little Anakin
walking.
I had that poster
and
for
the
a
shadow
while.
of Vader behind him.
I don't know what happened to it, but I actually had that poster. like an original one. Like somebody had sold it to me.
Like, I remember even as a little kid, I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. I said it exactly like that, and my mother put a bar of soap in my mouth right then and there.
But, yeah, like, the thing... We'll dive into it. So anyway, the whole plot of the movie, just to sum it up, and again, spoilers, if you're expecting any of us to tag shit for these movies when they have been out almost 2 decades now, get fucked. Not happening.
Spoilers. Every fucking person that clicked on this video has watched these movies.
Yeah, and if you haven't, where you been?
Yeah, I was about to say,
So anyway,
what rock have you lived under? And
Spike airs these movies every other goddamn day.
Like, and can I like rent out some space in there? Because like you must be doing pretty well.
I need some storage. Can I rent a stall? But anyway, to sum up the movie, 2 Jedi Knights, Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi,
played by Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson respectively.
Yeah, they are dispatched to resolve this trade agreement over the Trade Federation claiming. I can't remember what the hell they're mad about. It's a fucking backdoor to have an invasion.
Yeah.
They have a blockade around the planet. They're dispatched to bring an end to this and find a solution.
Which I'm sure that actually has some real foundations in some historical war event.
Well, without knowing any real specific events in history per se. This does happen a lot in Star Wars canon, especially at that point. Like that would happen a lot.
Yeah.
They go there. The Trade Federation attempts to kill them after it is revealed that they're working with this mysterious figure known as Darth Sidious.
Mm-hmm. AKA Palpatine.
Yeah, it's basically Palpatine. Around that time, like I actually have the Essential Guide to Characters, the second updated version. They had it as Sidious and Palpatine were 2 separate entries. Which I'm like, he's obviously the same person.
Well, that also might have been Lucasfilm being like telling them a lie so they could bury the lead, because I feel like they were trying to not imply that Palpatine and the Emperor or Darth Sidious were the same person.
Maybe, I don't know, like that. Anyway, beside the point.
But no, this was his plan for the whole time. Because Lucas has everything planned out.
So they escape down to the planet where they run into a creature known as Jar Jar Binks, one of the most hated characters in all of Star Wars.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. In the process, they make it to the capital city of Naboo, and they rescue Queen Amidala of Naboo, and they manage to escape the planet and, to try to get to Coruscant to reveal what's actually been happening, because the Trade Federation has obviously been lying to the Senate about what's going on, hoping that they can, conquer the planet quickly, suppress any information, and it won't be a big deal.
On the way, their ship gets damaged and they're forced to crash land on the planet Tatooine.
Not crash land, they actually just
land. You know what I mean. Like
they're forced to stop.
They're forced to stop. Crash land kind of makes it sound a little more
violent than I would say.
While doing so, they're pursued by the apprentice of Darth Sidious, known as Darth Maul, who is probably the best thing about this movie. Where they eventually go into a...
Oh man, the best part is one thing.
Well, no. I didn't mean best. I mean like literally the best character. The best character in this whole movie would be Darth Maul.
So say Duel of Fates is pretty.
No, Duel of the Fate. Well, I'm not talking about music. I'm just talking about like.
We'll get the music in a part. There's going to be a lot of music discussion with all these movies.
While there, they end up into a town, and they come across a young slave, a slave, and her son,
Anakin, Mos Eisley.
Or Mos Eisley. I can't remember if it was that. It was exactly.
It's Mos Eisley.
Yeah, the Mos Eisley spaceport, where they encounter 2 slaves, a woman named Shni, and her son Anakin Skywalker, and basically the plot spirals from there, where they try to get off Tatooine and try to prevent.
Qui-Gon gambles the Queen's ship in a pod race deal to free not only to get the part they need, because Republican credits are fucking worthless out in the Outer Rim at this point.
Yeah.
Because just there's rampant crime. It's kind of already with this, we're starting to see that the Republic is corrupt in the sense that it can't really police all its systems very well,
as well as the Jedi, which comes more into play in the second film. But they do kind of start the threads for
debatable. We'll get to it when we get to it. Debatable.
Yeah.
But anyway, he gambles the ship in exchange for getting the part if Anakin wins this big pod race.
Right.
And Qui-Gon also manages to gamble it that Anakin will be free. He initially tries to get both Anakin and his mother, but their owner won't go for that. So he manages. So he holds it up like a dice roll. He's like, red, the boy, blue, his mother, and he throws the dice, and Qui-Gon he just uses the Force to get the right outcome that he wants.
He also he wants to bring Anakin because Anakin,
I feel like he is the chosen one.
Has really high midichlorian count.
Yeah, which that brings in this fucking midichlorian shit about the Force, which I think most people think is absolutely stupid.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's like power levels in Dragon Ball Z. Who the fuck really cares?
Yeah. But so anyway, Anakin does win this pod race, freeing himself and getting the part for them. And basically Anakin leaves to, be trained by the Jedi. So they leave, they get to Coruscant. The Senate, much like in real life, doesn't want to do jack shit.
The Jedi Council knew we would want to see how good the boy can be. We took them there, told the tale about how he
no Weird Al. Get out of here with that.
Look, I'm just saying that's like one of the best summaries of this whole movie is that song.
It is, but get out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
But also, so that goes wrong on Coruscant is that the Senate won't do anything.
Much like the Senate in real life.
That's what I just said. That basically just like the Senate in real life. So that at the Jedi Council they bring Anakin forward and the council decides that he's too old to be trained.
And this is also the last time Yoda's an actual puppet.
Well, it depends on the version. Only in the original VHS version, they went back and actually redid him as CGI.
That upsets me terribly.
Yeah, like if you watch it on here, he's CGI. They went back and redid it. The only way you can get Puppet Yoda is if you buy the VHS.
That is saddening. Anyway. But
to which Qui-Gon does not fucking agree with this. It's already been established that Qui-Gon's kind of like a little bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
He's not on the council.
He's not on the council, but he has the rank of master, but we do not have to see.
No, he's not like Anakin. He has the rank of master.
Yeah, I know.
But he initially is like, I will train the boy. Well, you already have an apprentice. Obi-Wan is ready for the Jedi Knight trials. Like, he tries swinging this, and it just don't work. Which,
as an aside, I'm like, what? Like, the Sith, I get, like, the whole, there's only a master and an apprentice. I don't understand why, like, a Jedi needs to follow the same
I can actually explain that. There is such things called Force Bond, which is, like, the bond between a master and an apprentice. It's through the Force. You can sense their thoughts better. You can see into their memories and stuff. You can see... it's a close bond.
Yeah.
That's why they do it, because it's not really... Only in extreme cases in Star Wars continuity. And I'm talking the old EU continuity, because I don't know jack shit about the new one, and the new one just continues to borrow shit from the old one. But anyway.
Badly.
In very extreme circumstances, are there accounts of Jedi or Force users being able to form Force bonds with multiple people? An example, this is the Jedi Exile from KOTOR 2. But, like, usually it's just Master and Apprentice, they have a Force... they create what's called a Force bond. That's why they're kind of just, like, one and one.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shame the movie doesn't explain that.
Yeah, that had to be explained in books and other shit. But anyway, that goes wrong. So the Queen basically makes it clear, I'm going back to Naboo to free my people. And Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan accompany her. So we leads all back up to this climactic final battle on Naboo where they get the Gungans to help them out.
And also C-3PO and R2-D2 are in this movie, but we kind of
R2-D2 is one of the Queen's robots. Anakin built C-3PO. It's one of those things, you either like it or you don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I'll explain why I have issue with him creating C-3PO, but we'll get to there when we...
Yes. Anyway, basically the alliance between the Gungans and the Naboo is a big deal because, like, those are two species on the same planet that have not been on good terms with each other for a long, long time. And Amidala manages to kind of form an alliance with them.
I mean, yeah, if I knew their race produced one of the most annoying motherfuckers in the history of the universe, I certainly wouldn't want to be friends with them either.
Yeah. But so anyway, it leads back into this final battle, and they retake the planet.
Yeah.
After there's like three battles going on simultaneously during this whole end thing. You have Amidala and her guards trying to capture the Trade Federation viceroys,
which also has the two Jedi fighting Darth Maul.
And then you also have this big space battle going up above the planet, because basically all the droids for the Trade Federation, because they use droids as like their army, they're all controlled by a droid control ship.
Yeah.
And if you destroy the ship, the droids on the planet will shut down. Which is they later realize that's really stupid of a design, and they come out with B2 battle droids, which aren't subject to that.
Well, then, to be fair, I think it's implied the Trade Federation, they kind of were cobbling this war together as they were going. Like, I don't think they really thought, like...
Yeah, well, they were being manipulated by Sidious.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, Anakin, who was stowed away in one of the Naboo starfighters, he accidentally gets it turned on.
Thankfully, R2's also piloting it with him.
They fly up into space, and he manages to destroy the droid control ship.
And then we have the battle with the Gungans versus the droids with Jar Jar leading the forces, which is honestly probably the worst part about that climax, is because Jar Jar wins by sheer fucking luck.
Yeah, but so then we go back to this duel between Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon, and Maul manages to defeat Qui-Gon, leading Obi-Wan to nearly be killed by him as well, because, he kind of gives into the anger.
Yeah.
But Obi-Wan manages to use the Force to leap out of this pit that he was in, grab Qui-Gon's lightsaber, cut Darth Maul in half.
Which, in this movie, appears he died.
No, he lives.
Yeah, but thanks to TV show and multiple TV shows after, this motherfucker comes back. He started killing a fucking cockroach.
Yeah. As Qui-Gon lies dying, Obi-Wan is made to promise to him that he will train the boy. They go back to Coruscant. They promote Obi-Wan to Jedi Knight, and he takes Anakin as his apprentice.
And while they're...
To which, and this is the foreshadowing, because it's foreshadowing. We gotta have a little bit of that.
It's like poetry.
It's like poetry rhymes. While they're having a funeral for Qui-Gon,
which they do the funeral pyre thing like they do in the Return of the Jedi with Darth Vader.
Yeah. Master Windu and Master Yoda talk about, which one was defeated, the apprentice or the master. And then we get this ominous zoom over to Palpatine, and then we get this big final celebration on Naboo, and then the movie ends.
And of course we get the scene of Boss Nass going...
Yeah, like he's Doug.
Yeah.
But so anyway, like I mentioned in the earlier part of the video, Phantom Menace is one of those movies that, like, I don't think is actually that bad. I think it just has some issues with it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of fan edits that I think actually show there's a good movie in there.
Yeah. My other problem is I think this movie's a little too early, like, in the timeline. Like, I would have rather have gotten a movie where it was about Anakin and Obi-Wan.
This could have been a good side movie.
Yeah. Either that or, like, they should have done, like, a quadrilogy instead of a trilogy, but at this point, Star Wars is so locked in the idea of trilogies that, like, they had to do trilogies. Because and I'm not gonna attack Jake Lloyd like a lot of people have. He was 8. Like,
I don't think there's any reason to. He's a child actor. Holy hell, I'm not expecting Marlon Brando.
Like I feel bad that he got death threats and people being like, you ruined Star... Like, both him and the actor that played Jar Jar. Like, I will not... Yeah,
because the guy that played Jar Jar actually came close to committing suicide, I believe.
Like, I hate the character, but I don't hate the actor that did it. He was doing what he was asked of him.
It's okay to hate the character. Hate the writing. Don't hate the guy or girl playing the character. Hate the writing.
Like, I think the problem is more, they should have aged Anakin up a little bit. Like, to, like, maybe 12.
I've always said that I think that this movie and its sequel, Attack of the Clones, would have been better if these two were one movie. Like, if they kind of were able to mesh them into one movie. I think that would have been better, and then you could have had the actual second movie be more about the Clone Wars, and then wrap everything up with Episode 3. I think that would have been a tighter narrative, and I think it actually probably would have fixed a lot of the criticisms people have for these first two movies. Because I think the most common criticism of both of these movies is that the pacing is all over the place.
I actually argue Attack of the Clones has the complete opposite problem of Episode 1.
You think it's too fast?
Yeah, like, because, like, so much shit happens in that movie.
It does, but I think with Episode 2, without diving too much into Episode 2, Episode 2 starts out really, really good and really interesting, and then the whole middle part of it is slow as dog shit, and it's boring.
Well,
Like the romance stuff. The romance stuff in 2 is obviously necessary because we gotta set that up. The problem is, whoever wrote that, I don't know if it was Lucas himself or if he had some help. They did not know how the fuck to write romance whatsoever.
What? You mean the guy who divorced his first wife because of the holiday special?
He didn't do that.
Oh, he didn't? I thought they got divorced. Cause
No.
Didn't he get married?
Motherfucking stop believing everything on the internet. No, that's not what happened.
Maybe I'm confusing him with Jim Henson.
I think you are thinking of Jim Henson. I was like, no.
But
I'm pretty sure they're still married, bro.
oh, I thought he had a second wife, but
no, I don't think so.
But now that you mention, I always forget about the fucking 20 minutes of Anakin and Padme's romance.
It's just not very good.
Yeah, that would be like
okay. He was married to one lady. They divorced in 1983.
Yeah,
so that would have been.
I didn't mean that they were divorced because I was just making a joke about.
No, I know, but like I didn't know if you. I'm like, do you actually believe that or
no? I would. But like, it's more funny because his first wife was the one who directed the holiday special, which I'm like I was making a joke.
No, I got you. I didn't know if you were being dead serious.
No, okay, but
getting back on
track.
Yeah, it's just for me the whole middle part of Attack of the Clones drags.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, episode 1 to me has the opposite problem. Whereas like episode 2, I will always say the beginning is really good, the middle is really, really boring, the end of it is really, really good. Episode 1, it's good for a little bit, slow for another part. Good for another little bit, slow for another part.
Actually,
it's starting and stopping.
I can agree with that. Like, especially, oh my god, the fucking 9-minute pod race.
Oh my god, yeah. The pod race is probably the most boring thing to me. Like, yeah, in 1999, that would have looked fucking amazing, probably.
Well, I don't even think back, because, like, the biggest problem with the pod race, it's all shot with one camera angle, for the most part. Like yeah, you get shots like the characters in the pods, but almost every shot, it's left to right. Like, everyone is, you just see the pods going left to right.
It's like they didn't actually, like, look at something like, I don't know, like a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
And look at the different camera angles that are there.
Because, like, to be fair, like, Lucas was what he was trying to do there. He was trying to do, like, the chariot races from Ben-Hur. But the Ben-Hur chariot races have way more camera shots than one.
Yeah.
Like, racing in movies, you need to have multiple camera angles to try and give at least some illusion of, like, it actually being, like, a real race.
Yeah. But, like, but I'm glad to see you agree with me, because I think that's the central problem in this movie, is that there's not a good flow to it. I think if there was actually, like, some decent pacing to it and a flow, it probably would be actually a really more enjoyable movie than it is.
I think the other thing is they focus on the wrong things. Like, they focus
politics.
on, like, the trade. Well, because here's the thing: the trade agreement's bullshit. It's just a cover for the Trade Federation to conquer Naboo. But they spend so much time talking about this Trade Federation, or like, especially because, like, I think they should.
Like, it's stuff that's like for the novel,
yeah,
where you can expand on that. That doesn't need to be like a central focus. But we get it; they're the bad guy.
Yeah,
we have the motive that they're doing it. They're being tricked by Sidious into doing it. You don't need to spend all this time trying to elaborate on it.
Meanwhile, you've got the idea of the Sith coming back to power, trying to undermine the Jedi and the Republic.
We're seeing Obi-Wan as a young man, an apprentice. Yeah. You know, like, they could have expanded so much on the relationship between him and Qui-Gon.
Hell, we could have had Qui-Gon be a little bit more of build-up of the whole idea that the Jedi are becoming corrupt, because, like, clearly Qui-Gon believes that the ways of the Jedi are like constricting them.
Yeah. Well, and, like, that's one thing with Qui-Gon especially, is that I think the EU did him better than the movie did, because...
Yeah, because the movie makes him look like an idiot.
Well, yeah, well, yes and no. I'm going to defend the Jedi whether you like it or not. I'm sorry.
I mean, fair. I'm not saying that they're completely corrupt, but, like, clearly they've been so stuck in their ways,
That's not corrupt. That's just stagnant.
Well, maybe, but, like, corrupting in the sense that, like, they're just
blinded because they've spent so long.
They're blinded by their own arrogance and hubris.
Yes, to me, that's not corrupt to me. But anyway,
fair.
Like, the EU Qui-Gon has this massive importance throughout the entire EU. It's like one of the central reasons Dooku goes to the dark side, because he was Qui-Gon's master. Yeah. You didn't know that?
I thought he was Yoda's apprentice, Qui-Gon.
No, Yoda taught Dooku. Dooku taught Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon taught Obi-Wan.
Holy shit, that would have actually explained a lot about why Qui-Gon is the way he is. God damn, fucking these movies.
Well, they explain it too. They mention it.
They do?
Yeah. They mention this in 2. During the scene when Obi-Wan's being held captive and Dooku's talking to him, they mention it in that scene.
Okay.
It's kind of like a throwaway line, so like I don't blame you for not knowing it. But anyway,
It's like I remember,
he has this massive importance throughout this entire storyline.
Right.
But you would never know it if you just watched the movie and be like, oh, he's just the guy that freed Anakin and got Obi-Wan to train him. Like, there's so much more importance to that. Like, at one point in the comics, before Anakin knew Luke or Leia were alive,
yeah,
he would have dreams where like he and Padme were still married, and he hadn't turned to the dark side, and they had a son, and the son was named Jin Skywalker because they would name him after Qui-Gon, because Qui-Gon was the one that like brought them together and stuff, in a way.
Yeah,
there's all this importance, but there's like almost no focus on him at all in this movie.
And to be fair, I think because of that, because I've kind of come around to Qui-Gon. Like, I used to think Qui-Gon was, like, one of the worst Jedi ever because, like, because I know a lot of people's arguments, like, why did he gamble on their only way off Tatooine instead of getting, like, just selling that ship and getting, like, a new one or, like, an older, a smaller one or at least one that'll get him off. And I think part of the problem is, like, the whole idea with this movie is to show that Qui-Gon hasn't let the ways of the Jedi like make him as arrogant as hubris as the Jedi Council. Like, when he shuts his lightsaber off against Maul, that's not him like giving up. He's trying to meditate and to like try to use a path of non-violence in a way that will allow him to gain victory. A thing that is very common in the original trilogy. And the problem is, like, the way this film is written, it doesn't give enough to Qui-Gon's
there's not enough focus.
The other problem I have with this movie is we have Obi-Wan Kenobi in this movie, and he does almost jack shit in it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like
this should have been his movie.
I would almost argue he's not important until like the last 30 fucking minutes of the movie.
Yeah, this should be his movie. Like, we don't even really get the friendship between him and Anakin.
We get this important moment, which is him meeting Anakin.
And then
they have, like, almost no interaction after that.
Especially because he stays on the ship for most of the Tatooine scenes. It's like, holy shit. Because, like, in my opinion, Qui-Gon should be the main character throughout all of these films. Like, and I know people will be like, well, this is really Anakin's trilogy. Except that it's not. It's really supposed to be about, Obi-Wan and his failures and like that sort of thing. But like, would you agree? Like,
yeah,
like, because I like Qui-Gon well enough now, but like,
God, we've almost gone 40 minutes on just a Phantom Menace. We should literally just do these as separate episodes if we're gonna get this in depth.
Well, okay, we should probably like maybe start going into some of the other problems we have and like in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Let's just do these as separate episodes. I like how can you tell we're making this up as we go?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's just.
I mean, we're diving into some actual problems.
Yeah. Oh God, we're gonna have to do the original trilogy as one video though.
I mean, I'm honestly down for doing those as separates because we can get into those like especially 5.
Okay.
5's one of the best movies ever made. Again, we're not making this up as we go.
Comes
it's obviously
too much
planned.
of us just.
No, I'll do 2. I'll do 2 a week. I'll do 2 a week.
But like,
so there you go, guys. 2 episodes a week for the rest of the month.
The other problem is, and I think the other problem is
never opened these Blu-rays either.
Yeah, the other problem I have with the pacing, and it's the same problem I kind of have with Return of the Jedi, which that's not me saying I hate Return of the Jedi.
Well, I'm gonna be defending me some Ewoks when we get there. Jared's already disliking the video, I can tell.
Yeah. The other problem is that Tatooine stuff is almost, again, completely irrelevant aside from introducing Anakin. Like, I feel bad saying that, but like...
No, it kind of really is. Like, I kind of get that they're like, well, this is like Tatooine, before the OT, but it's like, they don't really do anything with that. We don't see like any familiar sights.
We see Jabba.
Yeah, we see Jabba.
Okay, I was almost
Like-
afraid you were going to tell me that that's not actually Jabba.
No,
that's like his dad.
That's Jabba.
Because I
That's Jabba.
okay, because like Clone Wars, he's like a grown man. Like one of the first storylines.
He's a grown man in that too.
Okay,
They're
okay.
Huts live to be very, very old.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually Jabba.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Jabba. But
I was more afraid you were going to tell me
but
that's
we
actually
don't-
not Jabba.
We don't see like really any of the familiar sights at all.
And especially because they took out that hilarious deleted scene where they imply that Greedo is like 70 years old in the original trilogy
Yeah,
because he's the same age as Anakin.
so it's just kind of like that would have been a great point to be like, you know, you would have all of these things that would like be the nostalgia and everything
Yeah.
about like just doing like, you know, we could have had like they could have done like maybe like a flash to Mos Eisley, you know, you would have been able to kind of like really play on that nostalgia and everything.
No, did we
that's in
even
there.
see a Tusken Raider or a Jawa?
Yeah, remember the Tusken Raiders and the Jawas are both in this.
Okay.
They're in the pod
I
race
cannot
scene.
remember.
The Tusken Raiders actually shoot at the pod racers during the one scene.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, then the Jawas are there watching and stuff. So you get kind of those for a little bit of that familiarity of stuff we remember from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like that. There's nothing else there. They're on Tatooine. They don't really do anything with it. You know,
Yeah.
It's almost like it's just there as scenery. They don't really do anything to make it be like its own character.
Yeah.
Like it kind of is in the original.
Oh no! In the original trilogy, Tatooine
it
has
its
so
own
much.
character.
Like his Tatooine is like a western, like a western. Like it's so radically different from anywhere else in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because it has that feel of being in like a western.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Whereas
like-
here, it's just almost like dull.
Yeah, it's just a desert. Like
Yeah.
it's really bland. Like the most interesting things that happen in that, like in my opinion, are like the scene with Mace or with Darth Maul on his little hover bike
Yeah.
when he tries to attack Qui-Gon.
Where he almost takes fucking Anakin's head off.
Yeah. That's kind of it, really. Like,
Well, that's the other thing is that they build up Maul to be this very intimidating
Oh, yeah.
presence throughout most of the movie.
hell, he barely talks. Like, I think he has like one line in this movie.
Yeah, well, it's like they build him up to be this very intimidating, like, you know, presence over kind of like hanging like a specter, a Phantom Menace
Yeah.
over the entire movie.
Well, you almost think
But
he's
then
gonna be
he-
like the Darth Vader of this
but then
trilogy.
he
where
gets dispatched so easily.
Yeah.
I would honestly argue.
It's such a shame too, because this is the introduction of the double-sided lightsaber. You know, and the
Well, yes and no. In the movies, yes, it was in the comics prior to this, because it was actually introduced in Tales of the Jedi.
I mean, that's cool and all, but let's be honest.
It came out before that. It's just the debut of it in the movies.
And well,
I'm saying that, and I agree with you.
But that's great for the hardcore fans. But for the people that only watch these movies,
Listen, I don't care about the normies. You know this.
look, Colton, you know one of my problems with Star Wars is the fact that like the EU is basically just there because Daddy Lucas doesn't sometimes like explain everything, so other writers have to come in and fix his
But
mess.
it was that stuff was there in like 1990, 1991, like a full decade before that. There were actually even original novels coming out as early as 78. I get your
that.
point, but you're not making a lot of sense with that argument.
Okay, this is the thing. Like much like event comics for me, it's cool that there's all this like apocrypha and other things that explain away a lot of things that we don't get explained in the main thing. That's still kind of lazy, right? Is my point. Like
No, I get it. It's just
I know
with this, I'm just like, that first appeared in the Tales of the Jedi comic, which happened almost 5,000 years prior to Episode 1.
and I understand that. I really do. But for most people, and I know that it's going to be a sore spot for you and me here, but
I'm not most people.
but for most people, when they see this lightsaber and then someone like you or I try to explain it to them, you're basically going to watch their eyes roll in the back of their heads and then look like Riley during a flashlight rave.
Jesus Christ, that was a little dark, but okay. I get your point, but
No,
it's just, anyway.
which
Getting back
to
the
the
mall.
yeah, because oh Jesus Christ, we're 44 minutes in, we're still
Still talking about fucking Maul.
Yeah. Again, like, he's so cool. And then, like, both this and the extended universe proceed to just make him lamer and lamer as time goes on.
Like I said, I'm not a fan of the Clone Wars TV show kind of for that reason. I know that I know I'm probably going to get flamed back to hell and back over that because I know a lot of people that are gung-ho for that show.
There's really good things in the Clone Wars TV show. The stuff with Maul and Cad Bane is not, in my opinion. Like, especially Cad Bane.
Yeah, it's just... We dive into I guess it's time to just dive into this central issue with the prequel trilogy. And this movie especially...
Oh, this movie...
especially highlights this for me is that there's no suspense here.
No.
I know the ultimate end of this. Anakin becomes Vader. Obi-Wan, goes into hiding on Tatooine. He ends up dying on the Death Star. Amidala obviously
gives birth to Luke and Leia.
Well, okay, with Amidala, I can almost forgive it for this movie because there's no way of telling that this early.
Also, it's really uncomfortable that they have the 9-year-old hitting on the 14-year-old. That shit's really weird.
Yeah. We know Qui-Gon ends up dying. Palpatine comes to power. So it's like there's almost like not a suspense over any of these movies, and that's gonna go for all of these. I guess we'll just talk about this here now. That way we don't have to dive into it.
The other problem for me is much like my biggest problem with the Burton Batman film, they try to connect everything together. Like, I'm okay with, like, R2 being, like, on Amidala's ship because they have all those astromechs. But the fact that Anakin built C-3PO...
Yeah, no.
No. Like, I hate that so much. Like, there's that. Again, that deleted scene where they try to imply that Anakin and Greedo knew each other.
Well, again, that's Greedo the elder. That's his dad. And then there's Greedo the younger. They're two different characters.
There is now. When this movie was originally coming out, I doubt Lucas had that in mind.
Actually, that's in the novelization. And I know what you're going to say. It's in the novelization. It's canon.
I know that. But again, you just proved my point that the novels are basically just there to retcon, like, every one of Lucas's bad decisions.
That's in the script, too, though. That was literally the plan for that all along. Again, it's just another example of them trying to connect everything where there wasn't really a need to be a connection there.
Yeah, my point still stands there. Okay, can you see how I'm kind of jaded with Lucas?
I don't blame him. Like, I'm trying to be even-handed.
No,
here.
I know. Like I said, well, then I don't like giving him that credit because I know a lot of still people believe the myth that he had these movies written out around the same time as the original trilogy,
which is bullshit.
Bullshit. Like, he didn't even have the original trilogy written out when he fucking wrote those. But
yeah, hell, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, a novel that came out around that time, was legitimately written as a backup plan in case the original movie bombed.
Yeah.
And then they could do that as a low budget sequel and they could reuse a lot of the stuff from the original movie.
Yeah.
Like, that was, I'm pretty sure, the only backup plan they had at that point.
Nah, that's fair.
Not to mention, if the man was really planning that stuff out that far in advance, why's he got Luke and Leia kissing each other in episode 5?
Yeah. Or in the Marvel comics where they call each other my love.
Yeah, like Luke and Leia's actor and actress, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, they didn't know that shit until 6.
Oh my god, that picture, that'd be like,
yeah.
Oh my god, why is Alderaan the Alabama of the universe?
No, that's Tatooine. It's some outer rim shithole.
I mean, fair, but
anyway, but there's no suspense here. Like, a lot of this movie is, I'm just like, it feels very much like we're just setting up for the next movie.
Yeah, like,
and the next movie's gonna really blow your socks off. Only it's not really fucking going to.
Yeah.
But like, I guess I'll try to dive into some positives. I guess since we've just slammed on this.
Quick though, the other thing I don't like is they try to explain things that don't need explained, and I've had this problem with Star Wars for a very long time.
I think we have this problem with a lot of stuff too, not just Star Wars, but I think a lot of stuff we have this problem with.
For me, it's very prevalent here, especially trying to explain how the Force works with midichlorians. That was fucking terrible.
No, I agree. I'm not a fan of that either.
I know it's like the Force is almost like magic in this universe, but Who fucking cares?
It's magic. Why do we need to explain it?
Like,
I can't believe I'm agreeing with Joe Quesada.
no,
on this one
there's
for a
certain
minute.
things where I don't need to have it explained to me. Like,
Yeah. Like, why do we need to... That was, for me, I was like, that's just not necessary.
Like this isn't Star Trek where they have to give me actual, like, science behind their science fiction.
I think the biggest problem here was
This is
that
science fiction
this
fantasy.
was the start of this new trilogy, and I think they overthought the fuck out of it.
You mean like making Anakin a Christ figure by saying he was an immaculate conception?
Yeah, like yeah, which they then try to retcon that, and I still am like, I'm not sold on that. But anyway, like, it almost just feels very. Would you agree with me? It almost feels like they overthought this a lot.
No, they really did.
Like, almost like, it's kind of like you had this great trilogy that was beloved, and it was considered like one of the best things ever made.
Yeah.
And you're gonna write a prequel trilogy of that. Where do you start? It almost feels like they were like second guessing themselves. Like, should we not? What should?
Well, to be fair, I don't think there was any second guessing, because if you remember that documentary you and I have both seen and we love to reference, everyone involved with this movie was terrified of telling Lucas no, because by this point George Lucas, like, has become like synonymous with like Star Wars and just cinema in general. It'd be like if you were on a film set with Martin Scorsese and you try to tell him, like, maybe,
I think you need to reshoot this angle.
Yeah, like, and he'd be like, "You fucking telling me what to do? Get the fuck back to where you belong."
Granted, if I was a director like that and someone told me that, I'm like, "You got spunk, kid.
Yeah.
Let's shoot it like that. Let's just see how it looks."
Yeah, well, yeah, because, like, a good director would be willing to be like, "Okay, maybe you got a point there. Like,
Yeah,
we'll shoot this and
let's at least see how it looks."
Sometimes you can't do that because of budget constraints or time. But, like, I still remember when you see that scene where they're watching, like, a rough cut of the film, and they're all sitting in there, and Lucas is like, "I got low ambitions." You can see the fear on every person in that room because they do not want to tell him, "Oh my God, this is terrible." And it really shows, because I feel like this is one of the bigger problems with these films, and it's in what the original trilogy had. Lucas does, in the same way, has the same problems as Eminem. Now, I know this is, but
He snapped back to reality.
No,
Nope, there goes gravity.
like, when Eminem was not nearly as famous as he was, and he was just starting out,
He was hungry.
he was hungry, and that made everything he did good, because that meal could be his last. It was the same with Lucas in the original trilogy. Because, people forget, when the original trilogy was coming out, no one had any faith in it. Not even Lucas had any faith in it. And it became, like, the reason cinema is the way it is now. It's literally like a milestone in cinema. And then you come to him doing the prequel trilogy, and he has budget. Like, this is one of the first films where most of it's shot in CG. I mean, there's a lot of on set places.
Still
like,
practical effects.
Still practical effects. Like Naboo and Tatooine are still clearly shot in actual places, for the most part. But, like, Coruscant is CG. The Gungan like capital is clearly CG. The big fight with Jar Jar and the Gungans against the battle droids, all CG, which, oh boy, that battle did not age well looking. It's really bad looking.
I think they've actually gone back and touched it up.
They probably did touch it up here, but I remember going back and watching that again on like VHS and like older. That looked really bad. Like, I'm talking PS2 bad. But again, like, I still think that was the problem with Lucas during these films. He was allowed to do whatever he wanted, but the problem is he was much better when not having the budget. He knew when to cut things or when to just, accept that, like, you can't do it that way. Like, CGI became a crutch for him, not a tool. And I still argue that, especially with, like, the re-releases of the original trilogy, where he butchered the fuck out of those movies.
Oh man, listen, man. One of my friends, Joe, if I upload this on my channel, he might actually come after you. Like, I mean, have like an actual debate, because I know he's got feelings on this. So.
But, like, I think you can agree with me, right? Like, that is I think a big problem with these films is Lucas's ambition is, like, not restrained enough.
Yeah. Anyway, Let's get into some positives because at least 30 of this has been shitting
I know
on this.
we do have to talk about at least one big problem before we can do that, and that's mainly the problems with particularly some of the CG characters, like the Trade Federation, Watto, and Jar Jar.
We just talked about that.
Well, no, I meant like because there's some controversy with those characters.
I would really rather not dive into that.
All right.
I would really rather not.
Basically, there's a little bit of racial controversies in these. I don't think on a purpose, but like I kind of get where people get that from, particularly with the Trade Federation. But all right, we can go into positives.
Okay. The music, tight.
Oh yeah,
John Williams turned in a fucking perfect score as always.
Like even when I feel like John he was like the first person to be like, oh my god. All right. All right, boys.
There's no need to go that hard, John. Fucking immediately, the symphony's on fire.
No, like Duel of the Fates is still to this day probably one of the best things this trilogy.
I think that ending lightsaber fight between Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan is shot very, very well. It's very tight. It's very fast paced. You know, it's like the focus is great.
Yeah,
like.
I even really
that whole sequence is probably the most well shot thing in that whole movie.
I even like the added danger of the laser doors. That actually makes that like really tense because they'll have moments where they're fighting.
Well,
and
it adds in this element of like Obi-Wan has to watch Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
This guy he respects. This man he loves like a father figure. He has to watch him get struck down, and he can't do anything to stop it. So it adds in that almost element of tragedy.
Yeah.
To a story that we already know is going to be filled with tragedy.
Yeah.
Basically. So there's that added element there, and then you have this almost like this arrogance of the Sith in Maul does him in, whereas like Obi-Wan, pulling on his command of the Force manages to get his way out of it. He trusts in the Force. And he manages to come out on top, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's this, again, going back to the tragedy, as Qui-Gon lies dying in Obi-Wan's arms, there's this promise of you must train the boy.
Yeah.
Which we ultimately know how
that's
going to
play out, yeah.
So, but it's like this massive moment of importance to the saga, and seeing that unfold, I think, was great, and it was definitely needed for this.
Yeah.
I wish that the rest of the movie was shot as tight and as focused and as well written as like the last 30-40 minutes of that fucking movie.
Well, to be fair, the big CGI fights are a little hard to.
Yeah, but like you get what I'm saying.
No,
like,
I do get what you're saying.
The focus and the way they were written and shot. I wish that was that kind of pacing and that kind of flow. I wish that was prevalent throughout the whole movie.
And sadly, this is probably the best lightsaber duel up until the final duel with
in 3.
Because like one of my bigger problems with like Episode 2 and even like is the lightsaber duels suck in that. Like
you like the Phantom Menace, don't you?
Well, at least
that's like the second worst one. The only one that's worse is the one where you're flipping around. One's better.
Because like almost every other lightsaber fight, like we see aside from those two, they are so CG fueled. Especially because like they start doing acrobatics with the lightsabers, and it's. I get that like we have the technology to actually make the fights look good. Unlike how in the original trilogy, where like most of those fights are just two dudes slamming them things together. But like those duels still look better than almost any of them in these. Because like they just aim for each other's blades. And I'm like, what is this? A fucking theme park attraction?
I think a lot of the acting in this is good. I mean, Liam Neeson, with what he's got, he turns in a great performance.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor is fantastic as always.
Natalie Portman's not bad for 14.
Natalie Portman's not bad in this. I've actually heard she doesn't put these movies on her resume at all. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any validity to that. I've never really done research into that, but I've heard like she doesn't put those on her resume or she has issues with them.
But I
would have to actually do some research on that to see if there's validity to that.
But I always like to give credit to actors when they actually can do really well for a young age.
I think everyone in the movie with what they had, I think they turned in great performances as best as they could be.
And it was really nice. Like I think one of the best things about this movie is when we finally get to meet Yoda again. We get to see young Yoda. It was really great hearing Frank Oz reprise his role as Yoda.
That and like I really like that we finally get to see the Jedi Council. Like there's a lot of like lore building stuff, even if as well done or not well done as it can be in these movies. I think like that was one thing I did really like when it was done well with this movie, is that the lore building really adds a lot.
Also, do we see Mace in this movie, or is that in the next
Yeah,
movie?
he's in this.
Yeah, and who can forget, of course, Samuel L. Jackson is
The boy
Mace.
is to be trained then. No. Motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
He will not be trained.
No, motherfucker! Did I stutter?
I will train the boy myself. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. If you haven't watched it, go online on YouTube and type in Mace Windu motherfucker. There's like an edit where they put all of him saying motherfucker in every movie, and it's fucking hilarious.
Now that, and like I give
This party's over, motherfucker. That shit's hilarious.
I give Samuel L. Jackson a lot of credit in these movies. I think this is one of the
he was having fun.
Well, no, I think this is one of the movies where he tried to because there's a lot of movies where I think they just let him go. He really was trying here to be like kind of something you didn't see with Samuel L. Jackson back then, of like kind of being like more of a mentor and like a wiser figure than just the bombastic you usually see him as.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor, of course, being Obi-Wan is probably one of the best things.
Oh yeah, I love Ewan. When they got him back for that Kenobi show, I'm like, I'm sold. I'm sold on it completely. Let's go.
Yeah.
Which I'm enjoying Obi-Wan so far. I don't know what everybody's bitching about. I'm really enjoying the show so far.
I think at this point, Star Wars fans just
are never happy.
Yeah, just bitch about.
I'm enjoying it so far. But like we already mentioned earlier, the merchandise and the promotion and stuff for these.
Yeah, holy
hell, fantastic.
No, like I
still can see that VHS cover if I think about it.
Well, I still remember like going to Pizza Hut or KFC in Conant Lake, or going to the Taco Bell here, and just remembering all of the Star Wars stuff throughout all those. For most in '98 and '99, you couldn't go to any store and not see like Episode 1 shit. Like it was everywhere.
Yeah,
and I do mean it was like 2 years. Like you could not escape it.
Yeah.
But some other things. As much as I complain about the final battle CGI, it doesn't look too bad in other places though. Like when they're not trying to make like a huge massive, like it looks fine enough. Of course, seeing R2 basically be the same R2 that we've always known him was hilarious, especially when he Actually, I want to say this is the movie that introduced the idea of him having the jets in his on his legs, right?
I think so. Yeah,
because I want to say he uses the jets to put himself into the Naboo fighter.
No, it's the crane system.
Oh, they still use the crane system?
Yeah, the crane system picks him up. But so anyway, ratings out of 10. I'm gonna say 5 out of 10, and I feel like I'm being generous. But I go back and forth on this movie. There are days where like I enjoy it. There are days where I'm like, my criticisms for it outweigh any enjoyment I would get out of it. But I think 5 out of 10 is right where I think it should be. Because I actually will still say this is better than Attack of the Clones. Like any day of the week, I will say it's better than Attack of the Clones.
I'll give it a 6. Like there is some merit to it, but it's
the stuff that has merit outweighs the shit that's irrelevant. Is that what you're trying to say?
It's more bogged down by it. There's certainly things worth there, and I do want to give the actors credit, because I think a lot of the times everyone in these movies gets shit because of the weird things spoken in it. But I don't think that's really fair of the actors. That's a problem with the script. But like I will admit, like, we've all kind of like had this problem with Qui-Gon, but I think, looking on it, there is good stuff here. The problem is it's bogged down by a lot of really unnecessary scenes. I think you could probably cut like 20 minutes out of this film and not miss it.
Yeah.
And 10 of that is the fucking pod race scene.
Yeah, so. All right, guys, tune in next time where we dive into Attack of the Clones. Probably my most hated movie out of the 6.
Yeah, there's things I like in episode 2, but I think that's mostly just because I actually kind of just find it more fun. But
yeah, but anyway, guys, until then, I'm Average Joe Squad.
And I'm Zongitsu134.
And as always,
remember the hyphen.
And take care.
And may the Force be with you.
And also with you.